Everyone. Today is January 5th, and welcome to the Not Lifecycle Working Group. And we have one topic from Ryan about specialized lifecycle management. So I will give the screen to him and we can start.
All right, thanks. Let me see. There we go. Okay, so this is gonna be part three of this discussion. I don't know how much we'll go into some of the details, and we can. Um, I made some changes into the Google Doc that we had been discussing the past several meetings, so I'm happy to go through that if we want to. But I wanted to we'll do some logistics first. So for like the introduction, just to go over this again. For the future plans for declarative node maintenance and what we have been talking about with this design in the document specialized lifecycle management. The what it stems from is the a bunch of discussions at KubeCon about the context around doing node maintenance. And there was a lot of discussion, and actually, I think maybe the way to put it is that there's some concern about the scope of thinking about maintenance in terms of the node. And I think where you see the concern is when you look at DRA, and you look at the way that DRA sort of characterizes scheduling, it sort of changes how the how things look for the scheduler, in that we're not just sort of scheduling on a node anymore. We're thinking about scheduling on devices. And I think the best way to like if you to think about this, if you want to understand that at a high level, is like this concept of like a switch, like some sort of switch that is providing networking. This is a resource that can be allocated to a workload, or I should say a pod. And with DRA, you can allocate, that switch or part of that switch and the bandwidth for that. And that's a little bit different than saying, well, we're going to allocate a pod to a node. So the paradigm changes in that we're sort of thinking about things a little bit differently, in that now nodes are like this disaggregated resource, and that they're sort of like a collection of devices or a collection of resources. And what does that mean for declarative maintenance? What essentially what it means is that we still need to do maintenance, and we still need to do maintenance on nodes. It's just that we need to sort of think about it as more than just doing maintenance on nodes. We need to think about it as a little bit more in the general sense that, in the example I just gave, where we need to think about devices and other things in the picture. Yeah, there's a hand, Michael. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for covering all this again, Ryan. I really appreciate it. I guess like as we're getting into this discussion, and maybe this is where you're going with it. DRA is giving us a lot of options in terms of like how we consider hardware and how we add it into clusters and whatnot. So like we're talking about declarative node maintenance, and I really appreciate how you're breaking down node now is kind of like, really a node is actually a bunch of resources in a trench code or whatever. And so the question is now though, would we ever get to a point where we would see like declarative device maintenance or something where you could say this node is still functional, but this like virtual GPU or whatever that could be attached to several nodes, now that is going into maintenance, or is that already part of what we're talking about here?
So it's a good question. So where I think I think like the solution, like kind of where we need to go, and this is like kind of stems from this concern from the community, is that technically, I guess the way I put it is like there's a feature in DRA uh, called device taints. And we're all familiar with taints. Like we do this on nodes, right? We can taint a node, but now you can taint a device, right? So like, and you look at all the other features that DRA is building. It's actually a lot of the features are being built. A lot of them are actually imitations of what we have done with the node, like priorities and everything. Um, so it's almost like what's happening is like devices are being like remade as, not remade, I guess the features that were made around nodes are now being redone in this device paradigm. And so I guess to answer the question, would we need to do maintenance on a device? Yeah, I mean, you would need to do maintenance on a device. That scope is a possible use case here. Um, and I think maybe then the next question is, well, the device is attached to the node, so still, would you still need to do node maintenance? Yes, you would.
Right,
I
right.
think, yeah. So it's, but what's changed is like we sort of need to. It's not necessarily enough to say like we're just focused on node maintenance. It's sort of like what I'm declaring is that we're sort of thinking about it as like both. Like we may need to do device maintenance and then we may need to do node maintenance. The use cases are still important from the declared node maintenance, and so I guess what I'm saying is that we're trying to like leave it open, like trying to think of it as like there might be other things in the future. Maybe there'll be other ways that we can schedule pods that are going to change with this new paradigm, and we just need to account for those arriving at some point.
Yeah, that sounds really smart to me. And I think, I don't want to prompt us to like over engineer this, but I'm really happy to hear that you're kind of already thinking about these things and thinking about keeping this API kind of open in a way that would allow that future edition if we find out that we need it or whatever. So I think it's awesome. Just really encouraging to hear you're thinking about it that way. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, so I'm glad to hear that people are also thinking similar about this, because I mean I think it's definitely a concern. I think um, it's sort of hard to picture, because I know like in the node, like if you don't have accelerators, then maybe it's not, some of these use cases don't apply. But the important thing is like we absolutely want to solve like the node maintenance case, like the same use cases that are said and written out really well in this oops, I didn't mean to zoom in this design. And we want to carry those over, and they're still important. What's being changed, or what I'm trying to express, is that is just the approach is that if we sort of sprinkle in that one use case I just mentioned, where like the switch, and you take DRA into the mix, now the design has to change a little bit. And so that's sort of what I'm doing, is like I'm looking at it from that approach. So I'm glad to hear that there's some, people are also, thinking about it that way too. Okay, go ahead, Philip.
Yeah, I would like to gloss over a bit about the reasons why we are moving from the declarative node maintenance. So yeah, one of the things is the scope. So the node maintenance was basically we targeted either a node or a set of nodes, but the way it was written, it was mainly mimicking the like kubectl drain. And in the future, we might be doing like maintenance of like other like set of devices or nodes that's not compatible with the kubectl drain. And also we had quite a bit like hard-coded set of phases for the node maintenance. So we would like this to be all to be extensible and permissive. And even though like we want to focus on some of the core use cases we have in Kubernetes, as the node maintenance and graceful node shutdown, we want this like to be like extensible and allow basically other providers to define like the maintenance behaviors. So which is what is Ryan focusing on, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I think thanks for the feedback, guys. I think that was what I was hoping for. Like I that's the direction that I want to look to take this. So for like what's next. So I have a first bullet point here. So what I'm thinking here is that what we do is we take the declarative node maintenance, and um, we write a note in there explaining essentially what we just talked about, like and that explaining like what the discussions we've had, and what we're thinking about, and then go to a new cap with the expanded scope. But what we do is we just emphasize that the use cases we would hold on to, like we want to hold on to those use cases for declared node maintenance. And then, but then, with this new scope and the new use cases that, when thinking about in the larger scope, it will change our design. And so I think because there's been so much interest and investment actually in this KEP, we definitely owe like an explanation to like explain what we're doing, because I think the KEP hasn't had as much activity, but I think people would definitely be interested in continuing it. I mean, considering what has been said and written on the KEP. So that was what my plan was. Yeah, go ahead. Another question.
I hope I didn't want to cut you off there, Ryan, but yeah, I think that sounds like a good plan, and I think yeah, adding more context to the cap that like talks about the rationale for like why decisions are made or like why we're going one way or another or what we're thinking. I think that only serves to help in a lot of these situations. So yeah, I think that'd be awesome to add that to the cap or add it to the discussion at the least.
Okay. Yeah. So if there's no objection, I mean, that's my plan. I can write the comment and then we can review it if you guys want to see. Like Philip, you were the author of this, so I mean, I definitely wanted to get your feedback on like how we want to communicate this, um, and carry over and continue on the work. So I can reach out to you when when the time when I come up with like how we want to do this. But my thought is though that's what the direction we take, and then so if there's no objections or any more comments about that, what I'll do is so we'll go to the next topic, which is what I want to do in the new cap. And this is to take a very narrow focus and for like an alpha release and focus on two things. So I have listed here. Um, so the graceful node shutdown, this specific bug from graceful node shutdowns, I think would be a really good one. This is the one when kubelet is essentially lost because it's lost its state. It's been shut down or it's been restarted and it doesn't know it's supposed to be doing graceful node shutdown, and it has no way of figuring that out right now. So this would be a perfect candidate to actually to target as like a solution, as something we want to solve. And then the second one I think we is essentially like what we're covering in declarative node maintenance. The second thing would be like we want to provide the ability to do node maintenance, and and it's going to have a limited scope. Like I would just limit the scope to give people the ability to do it, and then like there would not be like this any sort of syntactic sugar um, or orchestration. There would be a lot of things that would need to be done on the user side, and but it would be focused on those two things. Yeah, so there's a question.
Yeah, I think it's fine to focus on this for alpha, but with regards to graceful shutdown, like we need to have a plan forward, like for like the other bugs we have, for example, the one with the daemon sets.
Do you have that bug? I actually I've lost the counting of some of these things. Is it in here or maybe it's in the
Yeah,
declared
it
node
is there.
maintenance?
Yeah, like if you go
Okay.
through that, you can find it. So I
Okay,
think
let me make
because
sure I get that
we
one.
like yeah, we have also Peter here. So we are trying to basically promote the graceful shutdown to GA, and I think this since it has been in a beta for a long time, and I saw this topic in Signals tomorrow. So this will be like important for that, like how we want to approach this.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge thing that I want out of this working group is getting graceful node shutdown to GA.
Yeah,
Okay,
and the
is this the
demon
bug
sets. Yeah, that's the
in
one. No,
this one too?
yeah, I forgot which one was it, but yeah, yeah, I can find the specific one if you want.
Okay. There's even some more. Okay, so I hadn't seen some of these. I had missed the accounting for this. Okay, I'll add a few of these in there. But yeah, maybe what I need to do is, and like you said, graceful node shutdown. So I mean, I can enumerate the specific bugs, but yeah, I think that would be my goal is graceful node shutdown to GA.
Yeah, Michael.
Yeah, I just a question for Ryan, I guess. Like, since you're mentioning here, that you want to start with a really limited scope for the alpha and just target these two things, are you implying that you'd like to expand the scope then when you go to beta or GA, or you would do follow-up caps, or what's the idea there, I guess?
Yeah, so I think that we would try to expand the scope. I think there is room to do it. I basically came to I tried to pare this down as much as possible to be something that we can get started and show value immediately. And then I do, yeah, my intention is I think there's room for expansion, and it's possible to like I don't know. So we were just meant talking about the graceful no shutdown and supporting go taking it to GA. Um, that needs I would agree that that needs to be as part of I'd want to make this part of the KEP. I don't know if all of the bugs will be solved in alpha. I have to go through them. So that could also be another thing like we could look at and move that across, have that across alpha and beta to make sure those are covered.
To that extent, though, I think it might be good to say that with the new cap you're putting together to make the intention clear that like we're going to start with this small focus for alpha, but we would like to solve these other things in beta or GA, because I think that's going to change how people review the cap, especially if there's features that will be added like in beta or in GA. So I think it's just good to mention it early on if that's the intention.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I need to go over these again because I had looked at these in the past and I had lost track of some of the issues. So let me go through the daemon set, these issues for the daemon sets to make sure they're captured. Go
Oops.
ahead, Felix.
Yeah, I can sync with you later, like to make sure like we have everything. And regarding like the scope, I think like we should have at least like a simple design in the cap to show how we will tackle this in the beta, for example. To make sure that like we are designing the right thing, and once we go to the like beta, we can decide like if we should spin this off to like a different cap, because usually these caps get very long and it's very hard to review or even like iterate on these. So, but we should have like at least like the idea of what we want to do there.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And that's part of my concern here too, is that, if we have a cap that's going to grow in complexity as we take it from alpha to beta or something, that's going to impact the testing. It's going to impact, how we do upgrades and downgrades and everything. So like, that's my concern, is that if our intention is to create a cap and then have it grow a little bit as it matures, I think we need to prepare people for that ahead of time, because I'm just not familiar with many other caps that do that, where they change functionality as they go from alpha to beta or something like that.
Like it would be great if we could do it like in additive way. That yeah, that's yeah,
Right.
but it has to be mentioned in the original design.
Right. Like if we can test the first part of it and make sure all that's solid, and then we can add on top of it to the next part, yeah, that would be great. But that's my concern here, is that like we graduate the feature from alpha to beta and it's got one set of requirements. And then as we go from beta to GA, it's now got a second set of requirements that have been added. That adds complexity for how we graduate the feature, right? So
Yeah, I will. I mean, I think I was looking I had when I was doing research, I like TRA went through a similar process. I think even the workload API is doing that where they're like they did like a bare bones implementation in alpha, and then the intention was that in beta there would be like a new cap with new features. I feel like I think what would be important though is I think what was said is that with the intention, like the intent is that we would want to get graceful no shutdown to GA, or at least get a bunch of the bug solves that we know are problematic blockers to get it to GA. I don't know if we'll be able to solve all of them, but I'd have to look. But um it would be we definitely what I would want to do is have a bunch of them here like listed. That's one of our focuses.
Yeah, I think you're approaching this the right way, Ryan. I just, I'm just trying to advocate for, yeah, let's be as transparent as possible because what we're doing is complicated. And I guess like I'm happy to hear that if other CEPs are starting to do this type of thing as well, then maybe it's just an evolution of our community and whatnot. So, but again, like I'm happy to hear that you're kind of thinking about it and trying to figure out how to fold it in there.
Yeah, I think so. The way I'd put it is that I definitely have a plan. Like I have in mind that this can be done iteratively. That we can take a first pass at this, and again, like being alpha, like my expectation is that we can like I also want to prove the thesis, which I think is part of this process, and and I have an idea how we could do this. I mean, besides these two wins, I have so this one would be one way to prove the thesis. I have a specific case in mind for this one, which would be the kubectl server-side drain. So like a very specific implementation of node maintenance, or even a specific part of node maintenance, to show like how this could work and what would be the the value and the power of it. And then that would be sort of the stepwise approach that if we can prove the thesis in alpha that these two things can be done, and then maybe some other issues for graceful and shutdown, then we can expand it to do other things. So I guess like the way I'm saying is I feel like we can communicate enough value as is, because these two things are really valuable in and of themselves. And then there's just I know there will be more that will come later. I can already see that. I even have some diagrams for it. So yeah, I'm going to communicate like that with that intention in mind.
Yeah, awesome. Like perfect to hear. And also like I love that we've got some measurable outputs. Like you said, there are bugs that we are solving with this, and there are ways that we can determine that like when this has gone into effect, it's going to make a measurable change. So I think all that sounds really well done to me.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the feedback. I think okay, so let me move on to the next step. So I will come back with this one. Let me just make sure I can enumerate any of the bugs that I would like to take on an alpha. Maybe I can't promise it will be all of them, but let me just see what it will be. Let me just see what that list will look like, and then um I can change it to make sure that we can communicate like this is one of the focuses and beyond, just this bug, and it might go across alpha and beta. Okay, so for next steps, for this one, what my intention um, would be to actually take this out of the Google Doc that we have now. I did do some work before the holiday break to actually turn this like into a full KEP format, um, so that like I can actually, I mean, I actually put it into my own GitHub branch right now, but it has all of the sections filled out at this point. So um, that's what I want to do next. I have the issue for this created, and then I need to actually publish the KEP. And then I figured we'd do, instead of iterating it just here in this Google Doc, we can start using doing it in Git and going through some of the details, and then seeing what we like and what we don't like about what the direction is. And I proposed two different directions in here, and we can I can shape this based on which of the directions that we want to do. But that's fine. I feel like one of the two directions we'll like, but my intention would be that we can do that in Git. I feel like this document has probably it's probably time that we push this into Git.
Uh,
Question, going for
yeah.
that.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure like if you want to offer like all of the options like we discuss in this doc. I mean,
Offer it
like,
in
or
like
I
if
mean,
we
like that you have like a couple of designs. So for example, one is keyboard based, the other one is not. And like which one, or like how do you want to like promote this like in the CAP, or how do you want to like decide like which kind or which direction to take?
um I mean, so my intention, I my feeling right now is that the so I think I've thought through both of those scenarios. Um, I tend to like the kubelet approach more. Um, but what I wanted to do is I have it set up that I have both of them in here. I have like an alternate. I don't know where it is anymore, but I have there's an alternate design section, so I have it here somewhere. I don't know why I can't see it though. But there's I have a section with alternate design, and that has um the kubelets or the non-kubelet one. So I haven't mentioned here, but do you want to discuss that before before I push this to Git, or do like my thought was that we could do that in Git, and if there's pushback about it, I can change it. I'm fine with that. I don't know. What do you think, Philip?
Yeah, I think like either is fine. Like it depends like how you want to frame the message. For example, when we move from the node maintenance to this one, like if people expect like the finished product or just like a still a place where lots of discussion needs to happen.
Yeah, I think so the way I wanted to frame this is around DRA in the paradigm shift and like in the why. And so my expectation was that I wanted to communicate that we're going to focus on a very specific part of like node maintenance, one of the specific use cases in that cap that's covered. Um, and then the yeah, I mean the reason why to explain the change would be through DRA. So like that. So which of the models kind of like so like the first model, the qubit model, like that one, um, I focused like a lot of the design very heavily on DRA. Um, I don't know. So that's kind of what I was thinking. Is like I was going to transition it by communicating it as in terms of DRA, and I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I have like my feedback on like either of these, but yeah, that's the we still we need to figure out like where how we will channel the discussions and the decisions. So like, either like we start in Git and maybe we should or not maybe, but if we want to make the kubelet the main thing, we have to bring this discussion to Signode to see what they think about it. I'm still not convinced like either way, but yeah, like we need to figure out the path forward.
Yeah, I agree. We do need to go to Signode. So that was the other thing is why I wanted that to be a next step is that I figured if we're gonna go out and publish this on to Git, I figured that's when we'd take it into Signode. So probably the next week, the next meeting next week, I could do that and then
Okay,
cover this exact topic.
okay. So yeah, I will send you like the issues we still have to solve. I still like think it is missing some important pieces regarding observability. Or like for example, in the node drain to like to see what the driver is doing. Like I think that's the important part that should
Okay.
be included, but I don't know, like you can start even without it, but certainly I will complain in the cap that it needs to be there. So like I will leave it up to like when you feel you're ready to open the cap, like we can do it. I think like we have a consensus here in the working group that we want to open another issue for this since it deviates from the node maintenance cap quite a bit.
Okay. All right. Well, so we can talk on we can talk offline and then yeah, so what I'll do is for time wise though, we'll plan for next week, next Tuesday. I can aim for to do a discussion at Signode. So I'll work with you offline, Philip, and others who want to talk about it, and we can get it into shape for that discussion.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, or we can maybe open a thread in our working group Slack. Maybe we
Yeah.
can post the issues and discuss it there. Maybe some other people will have ideas as
Yeah, I
well.
can do that. That sounds good.
Okay, cool.
Okay, that's all I had. Why don't we just do that? We'll follow up on Slack on specific things, and yeah, I think we've got our plan.
Okay, great. Does anybody have any other questions or topics? Okay, I have just one. I added the eviction request topic to tomorrow's Signal meeting. to discuss like the future of the API and like the changes that I did to the cap. So like if you wanna join or have any like other feedback, or you can just comment on the cap. Yeah, it should be in a reviewable state now, finally. So yeah, that's all. Thanks everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.